Gabby Bernstein, welcome to my podcast. This is such a full circle moment for me. I am thrilled to have you. You have been so important in my life, and my listeners, my community knows that. You kind of came to me at a time in my life that I was really lost, and your words have meant so much to me, all of your writing, all of your teachings. And so to have you on my podcast is just an honor. So welcome.
It's an honor to be here. And I also really like your shoes.
Oh, thanks. They're Tory Burch.
They're really, the second time I've seen great Tory Burch shoes.
I'm living for the Tory Sans.
This is a Tory Sans.
She's just amazing. She's so cool.
They're really good.
And it's like the fact that, you know, she had this incredible brand, and like that was the brand I was obsessed with in college. Like I would oh my God, I wanted the belts and the flats. And now the fact that she's like, I think really one of, if not the most strongest American designers. It's so cool. And she's just like, oh my God, she's an incredible designer, incredible person.
Second time I've asked someone where they got their shoes in like the last week, and it's both been Tory Burch.
She's killing it.
Go girl.
Her accessories, her ready to wear. No, she's awesome. I love her. Shout out Tory Burch. We love you. Okay, so Gabby Bernstein, a woman who needs no introduction, bestselling author, spiritual teacher, manifesting coach, podcast host, and my friend. You have a new book coming out, Self-Help, and this is your 10th book.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. What does it feel like to hit? I feel like 10 is a turning point. I mean, each book is like a labor of love, but 10 feels really significant.
I'm glad you're asking me about how it feels, because I don't think I've given myself any space to feel it.
Yeah.
I've been in a lot of, I guess I've done it a lot of times, but to really take in that this is my 10th book. I don't know. I think this is just sort of this is my mission. This is what I'm here to do. It sort of feels like, duh, yeah, this is it. Okay, next.
Yeah.
You know, not next. Like, don't move so fast. Don't move so fast past the experience. But I don't know. It's just, this is my job.
This is your job. This is what you're supposed to do. Okay, I love it. So before we dive into your incredible new book and the meat of your new teachings, I do want to ask you some questions for the listeners out there of my community who maybe have never manifested at all and find it really intimidating. And I've tried to kind of recommend your books and some other books that I've read that really helped me. But what would you say, where to begin if you're curious? If you're curious about manifesting, if you're curious about what I call doing the work.
Yeah.
If you're just curious to sort of start your spiritual journey, but you also have no idea what that means and it sounds really intimidating to you.
Okay. Well, I'm here to demystify it. That's my job. Well, first I would sort of recognize, what do you want? What do you want to attract into your life? What is the desire that you have? I think most people could say that, right? Like, I want in this case, a lot of your audience, I want that relationship or career success, or I want to have a certain title or whatever it might be. And then I would ask you the next question being, what is the belief that's blocking you from what you want? And that's a big question. And you just smiled when I said it. And then I, want the listener to think about that. They probably know right away, right? You know what you want, and then you know what is blocking you, likely. And that's an important question. This is an important place to begin, because we manifest what we believe. So if we want something, but we have this strong belief that's in the way of what we want, or this belief that is such a habitual pattern that we keep repurposing and replaying and projecting onto each situation, what's happening is we're creating more of what we don't want. And so for years, I've been writing books about manifesting and about tools for reprogramming your mind and claiming high vibe thoughts and getting into an energy of a point of attraction. And all of that is great and all of that works. But at the end of the day, if you're not actually healing the beliefs that hold you back, then you can manifest it all, but not keep it or not believe you're worthy of it or just keep blocking it.
Yeah.
And so that's actually why I'm calling my new book, well, it's called Self-Help. I'm calling it The New Manifesting, because it's about healing the beliefs that block your desires.
Right.
And block the life that you want to live.
It's so true. Like, you can be so laser clear on what you want, but if you don't heal the blocking beliefs, you won't be able to manifest. You have to believe you are worthy of what you are desiring and what you're manifesting, which is really hard. And it's like, even if you think, okay, yeah, no, like, I believe that, like, I should have a good job. I believe that. But it's like, do you really, in your core, like, are you there yet?
Sure. And if let's say you have a desire and you think you believe you should have a great job or you deserve a great job, but deep down you have an old belief system from childhood that's like, I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
Right. And you got that belief system from an experience from your childhood that made you feel very unwanted or unlovable or whatever it was. And you go right into that story at a young age, I'm not good enough. And you repurpose it and you replay it. And that story is blocking you from the job today.
Right. It's so crazy. It's just, it really is so much about our internal belief systems. And sometimes I think it's easier when I'm looking back to see why it took me so long to get some things that I was manifesting, because I hadn't uncoupled these limiting beliefs, these negative, low vibrational beliefs that I had about myself. And it wasn't until I really kind of approached them head on that I was able to manifest the things that I was wanting my whole life. So
yes,
it's so true. Okay, so in this book, you're essentially bringing your background knowledge of different styles of healing and paths for spiritual and personal development with your training to learn the internal family systems IFS therapy model.
Yes.
Okay. So can you, in simple terms, talk about IFS?
I started actually just before.
Okay.
So the cool thing is, I did this therapy for about almost a decade with my therapist, loved it so much. One afternoon, I didn't know what I was doing, but I was having this experience. And it was helping me recover from trauma memories, and it was really doing big work in my life. And then one afternoon, I'm watching this YouTube video of this Dr. Richard Schwartz.
Yeah.
And he's talking about this therapy that he created, and I'm like, holy shit, that's the therapy that I've been doing this whole time. I didn't know what it was. And so then I got really excited. And this is when I first started my podcast, and I called him and I got him on my show. And he was the third interview on Dear Gabby. And right away we were instant friends with deep connection. It was beautiful connection. And I said, listen, I love this work. I want to share it with the world. I'm going to start shouting it from the rooftops. And he's like, slow down. Why don't you go do the practitioner training? And so this was in 2021. And I went and I did hundreds of hours of level 1 and 2 training. I'm not a therapist, but I got trained in the IFS therapy training. So cool. Probably one of the last people that actually got to do that training that's not a licensed therapist. That was exciting for me.
Got it.
Or in the field. And so I got this training, and then I was really equipped to go do what I do best, which is demystify and democratize.
Right.
And so I went and I took my self-help bona fides and I said, okay, I'm going to really demystify this by boiling it down to a 4-step self-help practice that people can do anywhere, anytime outside of the therapist's office. And so this isn't IFS, but it's an IFS-informed self-help book.
Okay.
With the blessing of Dr. Richard Schwartz, who wrote the foreword. And, I spoke to him today. He's like my brother.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us more about.
So when I was talking before about the part, so let's say that at a very young age you had an experience that was pretty big. We all have them, big or small, big T trauma, little T trauma. It's trauma, nevertheless. So maybe you were told you were stupid, or maybe you were bullied, or maybe your parents got divorced, or maybe like me, you had real trauma where you had abuse or something along those lines, or parent was an alcoholic, or you just didn't feel seen by your loved one, or parent was traveling all the time. So these parts of you this is feeling very extreme for you as a child, and you don't have the ability to process those big emotions of feeling unlovable, inadequate, in some cases terror, right? In the case of big T trauma, it's terror. And so at that very young age, we feel these feelings that we do not know how to process. And so right away, we start protecting ourselves. And we protect ourselves with, let's say there's the belief of I'm not good enough. We start doing whatever we can to show the world that we're great, right? So we become a perfectionist. Or maybe in my case, I was completely out of control and I felt like the world no one can help me. And so I built the belief of if I don't do it, nobody else will. And that put me into a major point of controlling. Up until today, I'm still working with that part of me, right? And so these aspects of ourselves where we might say, oh, a part of me gets really triggered when the guy doesn't call back, or a part of me gets really nervous in relationships, or a part of me sabotages myself when I'm dating, or whatever it is. Those are young parts of yourself that have been around for a really long time, and they're actually protection mechanisms. Wow. And so this book is designed to stop shunning those parts of yourself, or ignoring those parts of yourself, or checking out with them, like all the overing, like overeating, over drinking, over numbing, over social media-ing, all of it. But instead check in with these aspects of yourself, the beliefs that are lacking, the habits and the behaviors, and become curious about them and become compassionate towards them. And when we do these 4 steps of this inquiry to check in with these parts, this new energy starts to emerge. And we can maybe feel a little bit more calm, or we might feel a little connected to that part, or a little bit compassionate towards it. And so in this process, you start to feel differently.
Right.
And that new feeling is what's called self. That's your undamaged, resourced, natural state, like where you were as a kid before you had these experiences.
Right.
And that self is like an inner parent. That's why it's called self-help.
I love that. Okay. Wow. Okay. So much to digest. I just want to go back to one thing you said, because I think it's such an interesting conversation. Can you talk a little bit about big T trauma and little T trauma? And I'm so also curious, as someone who experienced trauma and who talks about it a lot with, the people who you help, what do you think about the term being so widely used today? Because that's a conversation that I've had on my podcast before, and I try to be really thoughtful about when I do and don't use it. But I know that's a wider discussion on the internet right now of using this word. So how do you? The little T, big T is kind of a helpful kind of distinction for me.
I think we all experience emotional disturbances in our life.
Sure.
And some are very extreme, and some may be seemingly less extreme, but still extreme nonetheless, right? Because if you're young or it might seem like not a big deal, like, being fired or, but it could trigger a younger experience. And so it's the young experiences that have little T or big T trauma that really dictate a lot of who we become as adults.
Got it.
And so in terms of using the phrase trauma, I think it's good that trauma is in the zeitgeist, because I think when I was going through, I lived for 36 years with a dissociated memory that I didn't remember until I had a dream. And in the dream, I remembered childhood abuse. And that, I think, maybe would have come out sooner if I was living at this time, right?
Yeah.
Not that that's good or bad, right? But there's more voice for it. There's more language around it. There's more resources around it. It's less, and then what with those resources and language brings less shame.
Right.
Trauma is perpetuated because of shame.
Yeah, I know. I think a lot about shame and childhood, and how I think that informs people so much. I hope that, I don't know. I feel like in my own life personally, and my own therapy and my own work, I am still kind of untangling shame and like how it affects me. And I'm interested in the little parts of me that I feel like I have shame from my childhood, and I feel like I still haven't. I feel, like I've done a lot of work on myself, but there's always more to do. But that's a part of me that I feel is very difficult to work on.
Okay. Yeah, of course. I mean, shame is the most impermissible feeling.
Yeah.
So
wait, say more about that.
It's an exiled feeling. It's a little young experience that we've been protecting against for our whole lives.
Yes.
So we've been working over it. We've been using over it. We've been dating over it. We've been controlling over it. We've been all the overing, right?
Yeah.
So shame is the deepest one.
And I think it's so interesting how I think kids really absorb familial shame in one way or another.
And also epigenetics shows that you literally carry it in your genes.
Exactly. And like, I just think that, I think about so many kids, and whatever it is in your family, maybe, you have shame about your parents' relationship. Maybe you have shame about abuse that you're suffering. Maybe you have shame about the food insecurity that your family has. But that's some of the most foundational emotions and feelings that we have as a person. And then we grow up, and it's like, it's not really until, I hope everybody starts younger working on themselves, and I encourage everybody to start in your 20s or whenever, but it's really not until your 30s that you really do start to think about the little parts of yourself and how they have informed you. And you're like, oh, I am a perfectionist because of this, or oh, I actually do this because of that. It's so wild. It's so
and I think like another topic that's sort of in the zeitgeist is the inner child, right? So this is what we're talking about. There's lots of little inner children inside of us that are protecting us and managing our big feelings from our childhood. And so all day long, we're just managing from one managing energy to the next. And so this book gives you the solution to help those managing little people inside of you. It's the inner child work.
It reminds me of like Inside Out, you know.
It is based on Inside Out. So Inside Out is based on IFS therapy.
No way.
Yes, my love.
That's so, oh my God. I don't know about you guys, but I found that I've seen both of them. I was like sobbing. Like I was
This
really,
is your book then.
Like moved because I think, I don't know, just as I mean, and obviously that's not unique. Everybody loves Inside Out and Inside Out too, like duh. But I think the first one especially just struck a chord with me where I was like, wow, I can't wait. I'm so excited.
Because it's helping you witness that we have all these aspects of ourselves that are actually different people inside, little different roles.
And it does feel like you're managing it. And you're trying to do right by like the little girl inside of you, and you're trying to protect her, and but you're also embarrassed of her.
Yes.
You know, it's just, oh my God. Okay, I promised myself I wasn't going to use this as a therapy session.
It's okay. You know who you're with.
So I get a lot of questions from community members, women who are kind of stuck in a place of fear for, you know, whether it's like they're in a relationship that's not serving them, or they just feel stuck in their career, or they feel really left behind. And it's just, you know, just being a bit stuck. So when applying the IFS model, like how could they start to apply the IFS model to that?
They wouldn't apply the IFS model. They would apply the self-help practice.
Okay.
Because it isn't IFS. IFS is sitting in a therapy session. It's a much more in-depth way of using this, but it is based on IFS.
So what would be
use the
self-help?
4 steps?
Okay. Yes.
So you would notice the belief feeling part of you, whatever it might be.
Is that the step one?
This is the step one. Really, it's a little bit before step one, but recognizing that you have these parts of yourself that are protecting you, and you'd call that protector parts.
Okay.
So that's the controller. What do you know of any of your protector parts?
Definitely controller.
Controller, yeah. Okay.
That's my main one, I think.
I
know. I feel it all the time. I'm like, I'm definitely trying to control things because it's a defense mechanism. I don't want to be hurt. I don't want to be disappointed. And I think if I control everything, then, you know, but that's silly because
Can we check in with the controller right now?
Right now?
Yeah. You can make this a therapy session.
Okay, great.
It's okay. It's never going to be a therapy session because I'm not a therapist. Okay. So no, we're doing a self-help tool. Right? And it's just for your listener to follow. You don't have to we're not going to go too deep. And actually, that's the good news about this book. I'm not trying to go to those exiled little children that experience the trauma. I'm just trying to help you talk to these parts of you that are managing your life.
Totally. And
get some insight.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the first step is to choose to check in,
right?
Which is really getting permission inside. Like, do you want to check in? So do you want to check in? Is that okay? You're choosing it. That's the first step. We've done it. Okay, great. So focusing your attention inside, I want you to just notice where that controller lives in your body.
So like in my chest,
in your
my
chest,
stomach. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there any feeling or sensation that might be attached to that?
Just like heart palpitations and just like tightness in my chest always. Because I'm just very like hunched up and I just want to control everything.
And are there any images or thoughts attached to it, or?
It's so funny. I think of the angry guy from Inside Out all the time.
Oh, okay.
I think about him all the time. I'm like, he's in me right now. I'm like, that's me. I look at his picture sometimes online. I'm like, that's me all the time.
Yeah, that's a good image because I would see the Tasmanian devil.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
I got you. That's really good. Okay. So there's a good image. How long has that part of you been around?
I would say since like adulthood.
Oh, okay. So only as an adult.
I don't know. I feel like in my childhood, I was so like sad and lost, and then it wasn't until I like became an adult that I started to be like, oh, I can remove that by being controlling with everything.
So the sad and lost part's the young part, and the controller is protecting that part. Does that sound right?
Yes.
Okay. Excellent. Okay. And so as you check in with this part of you, is there anything else it wants us to know?
I don't know. I mean, I've been really trying to work on this part of me. I really have this year. I've been trying, but it's very persistent. So I guess that, if anything,
that it's persistent.
Just that it's persistent, and that like deep down, it always kind of feels like no, but it is best to control everything. Even though I'm like, we can't control, we can't do this. Like
it wants to hold on to this role.
It wants to hold on to this role. Yeah,
okay, that's nice. Okay, thank you for sharing that. Now the third step is to compassionately connect to the part. So do you feel like you have a little connection to it right now?
Yeah.
Can you ask it what it needs?
It needs to like have a break and relax.
Yeah.
And like just, I do feel compassion to that part of me because I know, like I get it. It's like I'm wanting to do everything. I want to do the best. I want to make the most of every opportunity. I want to protect my loved ones from pain. I want to protect myself from pain. Like I have compassion for that part of me because I understand where it comes from.
Beautiful. Wants to relax and you have compassion.
Yeah.
There's a lot of compassion. So you've already done the fourth step, which is to check for those C qualities of self. The calmness. How do you feel right now? Do you feel a little bit more calm?
I feel a little bit more calm. Yeah.
Do you have more clarity about
I
this
do
part?
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
Do you feel a little bit of connection to it? Yeah.
So much. Yeah.
Yeah. And compassion.
Yeah.
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 And does that give you a little curiosity to know a little bit more about it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you've done the process. This is self.
I
Those
love that.
qualities, you know, if once a day you checked in with the controlling part and gave her a moment to just say to you, or I don't want to make it a gender, because sometimes they don't even have a gender,
right?
You know, but whatever this part is,
right?
And just let that part of you say, I need a break.
Yeah.
To feel seen, soothed, safe. This is what children want. It's a child inside of you.
Yeah.
And that calm and compassionate energy is your inner parent, the inner self.
I love that.
And so it came naturally. Really, you have a lot of access to self.
This is going to be so, I'm so excited for this. This is going to be so helpful to so many people. So, wow, I do feel calmer. I do. And you guys, if that felt like you don't, like, it can be hard to start. I get that there are some people listening or watching who are probably like, I could never do that. I don't even know. I don't have access to that. You know, I promise you, you just have to start with a tiny step.
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of this book.
Yeah.
There's only this one method.
Exactly.
In the whole 11 chapter book.
Yeah.
So it just keeps being repeated, and there's a chapter called Anxious Parts. So it's all for anxiety. And then there's a chapter called Body Parts for like physical pain can sometimes be a protection mechanism.
Wow.
And there's a spiritual chapter, and there's a Let It Out chapter, which is all about journaling with your parts. Yeah. But it's still the 4 steps the whole way through.
I love it.
So it's like, this is actually the coolest thing I could tell your audience. So your audience is like 20s and 30s. And if there was anything I would want to give my 20, 30-year-old self, it would be this.
Yeah.
It'd be, here's the keys to the kingdom.
Truly.
If you can master these 4 steps of choosing to check in instead of checking out, curiosity.
Choosing to check in instead of checking out is a great line.
Right? Instead of checking out, check in.
Yep.
Curiosity, just getting to know what's going on inside, feelings, emotions, thoughts. The compassionate connection. What do you need?
Yeah.
And then just noticing the shift of the self energy coming in, this calmness and the connection. The mastering of those steps is literally life-changing. That's why the subtitle of the book is This Is Your Chance to Change Your Life.
It's beautiful because it's like, it's such a simple, practical way to not only just regulate yourself, but learn more about yourself.
That's right. Yes.
And that's so great for people. That's what I wish for everybody.
It's what I wish for everyone.
Yeah.
And I wasn't realizing that I was doing this at the time, but early in this will be really resonant for your crowd. So early days, right when I first got sober, I got sober 19 years ago. So I was in my mid-20s. I was like 26 or something. I was working with a coach, and I was really trying to heal my codependent addiction because I was really I had the belief that if I'm single, I'm not good enough, or I'm going to die almost. Like if I'm alone, I will die.
I know a lot of people in our community kind of feel that way.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
And so I was always in these relationships, in and out of relationships that I didn't necessarily even need to be in. And it was such an extreme feeling. And so I was working with this coach, and the coach taught me to breathe into the feeling, like the feeling of terror that would come over me when I wouldn't get the text back or whatever. And she said, breathe into the feeling for 90 seconds. And when you breathe into that feeling for 90 seconds, you can become curious about it. Like, is there a shape? Is there a size similar to what I'm doing with you? And in retrospect, I think she might have been using IFS. And getting to know that feeling and breathing in and giving it breath allowed it to relax and then settle and then sometimes pass.
Right.
And that tool in itself was such a radical shift for me. And in retrospect, I can see that it was IFS.
Right.
It was no different than what we're doing here. It's checking in, giving it breath, and giving it curiosity, giving it voice, seeing where the feeling is and connecting to it.
Yeah.
Rather than running away from it.
I know sometimes I feel like we've all been there. I mean, we call it like the attack in my community, where you have like a full mental breakdown about being single, and you just like, it's a really like physical, like, oh my God, like I'm gonna die alone, like just a really all encompassing attack. And I feel like that breathing it in, the feeling for 90 seconds would actually be a really helpful tool for a lot of our listeners, because I'm always, I've named it, I've talked about it, it happens to us, but I haven't, I don't know if I've actually offered any practical advice on what to do in that moment.
Now you have it, and now you can share it.
Yeah,
you can own it, practice it, own it for yourself, and give it away.
Yeah. No, it's a lot. I think it's crazy that we're just not taught how to regulate our emotions more, and we're not taught about how this works at all as kids, or like as teenagers or anything. And then we're thrust into this adult world, and we have all of this shit.
Yeah.
And we're like driving a car and we don't know how.
Well, one thing you might not even have recognized, that we were thrust into adult roles as children.
Totally.
When we didn't have the parent or resource to process those big feelings and emotions, because the parents said, oh, you'll get over it. Even the best well-intended parents were like, get over it. You'll figure it out. You're okay. You're okay. You're okay. Mm-hmm. That energy is saying to a child, like, your feelings don't matter. And so right at a very, very young age, we were thrust into these adult roles.
Right.
And so that's what we've been doing the whole time to protect ourselves.
Right. No, I think that this book is going to be so helpful also because we have a lot of oldest daughters in this community, or just like daughters who take on the lion's share of the emotional labor of their entire family unit. Not only themselves, not only their partners, their kids, but also their parents, their siblings.
Yeah.
Like, there's just a lot of, for some reason, that type of woman in my community. And I often think that they don't take any time for themselves to think, what's going on inside of my being. And I think a lot of women think, well, I need to be a mom first. I need to be a daughter first. I need to help all these other people and play a certain role in my family to uphold the system so that it all doesn't come crashing down. But at the end of the day, that runs out. It always runs out. And then you wake up and you're like, I don't know who I am. I don't know what's going on. I feel upset, sad, depressed, anxious, whatever, lost. And it's because there's been no maintenance of self, or no like feeding the garden.
No connection to self.
Yeah, exactly.
Not that self left you. It's just that it's just you're not connecting to that. It's just not connected. Center. Yeah.
And it's so important. All right, let's talk a little bit more about manifesting, because I sometimes cannot answer these questions, and I know you can. Okay. What would you say to someone who said to you, Gabby, I feel really blocked in my manifesting? Like,
it's going to sound like a broken record, but I'd say, what is the belief that's blocking you from this desire? They'll know it right away. And then I would say, go check in with it. I'm going to start sounding like a broken record.
No, but I know, but it's good.
Here's the key. Literally, this is the keys to the kingdom. Go notice that belief, choose to check in with it, become curious about where it is in your body. What is it? How old is it? How long has it been around? The questions, just follow the steps in the book. The third step is compassionately connect. What do you need? And then check in for the new change, because the belief is what's creating the block. The belief, because you manifest what you believe. Right. So if you keep believing this, I'm not worthy, there's no guys out there, I can't do it, what are you going to get? You're going to get more of that.
Yeah.
You're going to get more of that. You're also going to create an energetic frequency that's low vibe, that's super bummed out, and that's not sexy. So that's just perpetuating the problem.
Yeah, I think that's so spot on. I mean, it is about your vibe, and it's also like, if you have to, again, believe that it will come so that you can stop. It's like I don't remember if it was you or where I read this, but it's like an Amazon package is going to come. You don't wait by the window. You just it's going to come.
That analogy, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, if you guys don't know that, it's when you order something online, it's going to come. Maybe it'll come in 2 days or 3 days or whatever, but like, you don't wait by your window. You're not like, oh my God, is it going to come or not? And you have to truly believe that. And sometimes things show up in different ways than you thought they were going to show up, or in different timelines. And the more you can divorce from the actual moment that it arrives and fall more in love with where you're at right now, which
there is your answer.
Something
there
that you teach about a lot. It's like the having fun with it. And I know that's hard. Like I get that if you're in the thick of it and you're like, you know what, Tinx, like I really have been like manifesting love and I've been single for 5 years and like I've really had enough. Like I get it. It's a hard pill to swallow, but it's kind of the only way.
Well, you've been in a point of attraction that's probably been the same for 5 years. It's about changing. So like right now it's the new year. I've put 180,000 people through my manifesting challenge. Yeah. And I've heard stories, and it happens every year on January 1st, and people just go for the 21 days and they give themselves that gift. And what I've seen with so many testimonials that come through is people saying, for a decade, I lived with this belief, and in the 21 days, I started to change it. And by just changing that belief, things started to change.
Yeah.
And so that is the work. And look, but you said it beautifully, you know, even simple things like saying the affirmation, is this or something better?
I
just
love that.
Kind of puts you in this energy of, okay, maybe it's not this. Like, that's okay.
Rejection is redirection.
Rejection is redirection. Rejection is protection. Obstacles or detours in the right direction. These are my beliefs. I have full faith in this. And it's been a long time since I found myself pushing and controlling. And in fact, I just found myself in that place this week, if you could believe it or not.
Really?
It's been a really, really, really long time. I've never felt like I was pushing and controlling with my career ever in my entire career until this week. Okay. So right here, right now, and there's a lesson in this for manifesting. So right here, right now, the book is being launched. I'm also launching the Manifesting Challenge. I did a huge pre-launch for this book. I'm a mom. I have a lot of responsibilities. I'm going on a book tour. And then I scheduled my book tour for like 10 days after the new year. And so it's like very soon.
It's a lot.
And so all of a sudden I woke up and I was like, holy shit, I've got to sell it. I've got New York and LA and San Francisco and Boston. And these are huge rooms that I've always filled, but I'm just like, people are focused on Christmas right now, you know, whatever it is. And so I was feeling out of control and feeling pressure and feeling I was doing too many things. And so I started kind of getting into this feeling that is such an unfamiliar feeling of like, I got to just fix this right now. I'm going to try to make this happen. I'm like, you know, going, and yes, we want to take action. I have to take action to let people know I'm going on a book tour. I can't just like expect people to read my mind.
Right.
But if I take that action from this place of urgency and fear and kind of control, then it's going to just fall flat.
Totally.
But I started to notice that. I started to see that. I was like, whoa, who's this girl? I haven't been there in so many years. Everything's always sort of happened naturally. And so I pulled myself out. I did my 4 steps. And what I realized was that I needed the creative energy of self to come back in. And so by doing the 4 steps, I started to calm down. And in that calmer place, I could let creative ideas come forward. And then I was just thinking things like, duh, you know, like ask your publishers to tell your people about it, you know, like, or like email your friends and tell them, you know, your friend, you're the giver, Gabby. Like you're the one that I hook women up.
Sure.
Like if you ever ask me for anything, I will show the fuck up for you. Okay. Like that's how I am for other women, particularly women that are doing in work or whatever it is. So I was like, okay, maybe it's time for me to ask for some help. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so those creative ideas weren't coming to me because I was so pushy and controlling. So that's the message. So if you're in that thirsty energy or you're in that fear energy, do these 4 steps, because if you check in, then you can calm down. When you calm down, you feel more connected and you feel some compassion. Then your creative energy starts to come through. Creative ideas come forward. And that creative energy is joyful. It's sexy. It's empowering. It's the energy that guys want to date.
1,000%. No. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. I can't believe even you get what I call bajiggity. Like the fact that you still get bajiggity about it's like kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But you guys, that is like what I mean when I say summer of outside. If we're relating what Gabby just said back to dating, you know, that's why I try to come up with all these things of like summer of outside, which is what I say.
I got you. Yeah.
Like, you know, just go have fun with it. Focus on yourself, focus on your friends, because it puts you in a better vibrational state.
100%.
And so that when you do like meet someone, bump into someone, you're actually open to that energy. Like and
it happens because you're in the vibration. You're not looking for it.
Exactly. You're not looking for it. You're just in it.
That's the secret right there, is have more fun. I mean, that's
so true.
You don't need decades of therapy to do that. Just go have more fun.
Just go have more fun, and it will make everything better. Okay, we're going to do a few AMAs because I get a lot of questions from the squad. All right, let's see. Okay. Hi, Tinxie, new follower, listener here. One of my friends turned me onto your content through your crush list. I understand completely what it is, but would love to hear you talk more about your dedication to manifesting. Only crushes? Or what other practical exercises or actions do you take in your day-to-day life around manifesting? Looking to get as woo-woo as possible in 2025.
She's listening to the right show.
Hell yeah. Okay, this is the best. Well, so I have this like kind of silly manifesting thing that I do called Crush List, where I just keep it in my phone. It could be someone you see, you don't even know their name. It could be a celebrity. It could be whatever. But if you're single, I just like to harness the power of the crush.
Love.
Because it's very lighthearted, and I think if you're single, you can get bogged down in the like dating app and like, oh, are they right or whatever. But there's something so playful and innocent and raw about a crush. It's literally just the lightest, most fun feeling that we can have as humans.
Yeah,
and I swear to God, I have so many success stories of people saying like, oh, I put this guy on my crush list. He came into my life. It's happened to me. I've put guys on my crush list. They come around. Like, it's the best part of manifesting. So does that get Gabby's approval?
100,000%. What you focus on, you create more of. So as long as you feel good about your crush list, like if you put a guy on your crush list and you're like, oh, I could never have that guy, that ain't going to work.
That's such
you have
a
to make
good
it has to
point.
make you feel good.
1,000%. I love that addendum. That's so true. You can't.
Yes, it's an addendum.
You can't use it to ever like shame yourself or make yourself feel bad. It can only be positive. It can only be like, I sort of started this manifesting thing with crush list because I love the feeling of having a crush. It makes me feel so like, So what are some other practical exercises or actions? Well, I have a lot of fun. I mean, that was really a big thing that I took away from when I first started reading Gabby, was just to have more fun. And I sometimes get so bogged down. I just get so serious, kind of like what you were saying when you're launching a book, you have your business and you're doing all this stuff. And sometimes I'm like, whoa, I need to go do something super fun. And it really, as weird as it sounds, that is actually my most powerful manifesting practice, is to have fun and always use that as a reminder to myself of like, oh, I'm this, thing that I want, this thing that it feels blocked right now. And I'm like, have I been having fun? Like,
it's funny that you say that, because this morning, this is absolutely the key, right? But this morning I was sort of in a stressed out mood. Like, again, it's a chaotic time, and it's an acceptance, right? Like, this is just where I'm at. I'm never going to do this to myself again. Right. I won't launch a book and a product at the same time. But I was sitting in my house, and I was like, I had to like this long list of things to do today with all this press, and I had to go to the Mexican consulate to get a work visa for this talk I have. And so I had this huge day, and I was just putting on my makeup. And as soon as I like doing my own makeup. So I was like having fun doing my makeup. And as soon as I started doing my makeup, I just noticed my system settle, and I noticed myself just feeling focused and like into it. And I was like trying out a new concealer, and I was just like doing it, and noticed in real time my whole energy shift from the stress to just this single pointed focus of just making my face look pretty.
It's so true. It's so true that the smallest things can really shift how you feel. For me, it's always putting on like fun music.
Yeah.
I love it. It just helps me like take it down a notch.
Yeah.
And it really helps me get back to that place of fun. And then the other like practical exercises I do, I write a lot of lists. I do a lot of like list writing. I do a lot of like burning paper and like ripping it all up. And I journal. I think journaling is like, again, I learned that from Gabby, but it's a huge part of my manifesting process because it's just very easy. And it's a great way to help, thoughts become things. The words you speak become the house you live in. So it's like, if you're writing, it just helps it flow out of me.
Excellent. That's right.
So
let it out.
Okay, well, let's do just something different. Welp, I am her. She is me. I've been sleeping with my boss for about 2 months now. What started as a fun little fling is starting to feel more real. The one issue, I don't want it to be real. He's so sweet and attractive, and if not for the whole managerial thing, I'd give him a shot, but this is just not something I'm into. I can tell he's a bit more invested in us than I am. I'm super nervous to break things off. Please help with some encouragement. Do what I know needs to be done. Also, until I am writing this, I wasn't worried about retaliation, But would you go on record with HR to protect yourself? I know I'm not an office manager, but I could really use some advice.
Well, if it's a consensual relationship, I don't think you're going to go, put the guy on HR records.
No, I don't know why you would go to HR.
It's genuinely consensual.
Yeah.
But I don't know. What do you say to that?
I think you just have to be honest. I think you just, at this point, you've been hooking up with him for 2 months. I would just be really honest and say, it's the new year. I've been thinking about it. It's been fun hanging, but I want to keep this professional from here on out.
Love that.
Tell the truth. Tell the truth. I
like that a lot.
I think sometimes we overcomplicate things, and all you can do in situations is be honest and speak from the heart. And I don't
take the drama out of it.
Take the drama out of it.
Do not go to HR.
Yeah. Her HR mention was because of
retaliation.
I wouldn't even put that out. Yeah, or the power dynamic.
Well, if there's an issue, go to HR.
Right.
Let's be very clear for this woman. Okay. So if it's a consensual relationship, and you've both signed up for this and there was no drama, then you can take care of it with your authentic truth and honesty.
Yeah.
But if it's not guaranteed consensual, then you take care of yourself, ladies.
100%.
And you speak up for yourself and you go get the help that you need. And that is absolutely mandatory.
100%.
If you feel like there's a power dynamic, if you feel like there's a Me Too thing happening, you go on it.
Yeah.
That is the move.
100%.
Tell that, yes, just to be clear. It's two different stories here. We gotta make sure we know what we're talking about.
Yeah. Okay. Self-Help, Gabby's 10th book is out now. You guys need to read this book. I'm going to be reading it and I'm going to be discussing it on my pod.
I want you to use it. I'll give you, in my app, I have these 11 self-help check-ins. So you can just meditate with me and I'll take you through the 4 steps whenever. With anxiety, if you're anxious, I can do the anxiety check-in with you, whatever it is. So master it. And then I think it's going to be a great tool for you to teach, because if it's in your toolbox, it's like these women are coming to you and they're freaking out and they feel like they can't attract the thing. But I'm telling you, I mean, if somebody pulled me aside at 25 and gave this to me, I'd be like, thank you so much.
Yeah. And it all starts with you. I mean, that's like always what I say when I'm talking about manifesting or whatever. It's just like, whenever you're having an issue, like, oh, I can't, get a guy, or, having whatever it is, like, turn inward. And that is the best bet to work through something always, in my opinion.
100%.
Whether it's manifesting, whether it's reflection, whether it is going to therapy, whether it's reading, whether it's journaling. That's how I make myself feel safe again. And that's why I'm so excited to learn this tool.
Yeah.
Where can people find you?
Gabby Bernstein on social, at deargabby.com is my website.
And you're going on a book tour.
Yeah, going to LA.
Okay, great.
Going to New York on the 10th, which I hope you can come to. I'm going to LA on the 14th of January, 16th in San Francisco, and then in February I'm in Boston, and then we're in Mexico and Australia.
And if people want to get tickets, where can they do that?
deargabby.com/events.
Fabulous.
Look at you hooking your girl up right here.
Hell yeah. This book is going to help so many people, and I'm so excited. Thank you for being here.
I love you. Beautiful.
Bye, guys.